What's the deal with some people not really needing to do keto because they have good genes? Hi, in case you're new to this channel, I am Slick Nick, your personal keto bro. And no, I'm not a doctor, a dietitian, a nutritionist, or a personal trainer. Instead, I'm just some random guy who's approaching his 40th birthday, hoping to fit into a size medium t-shirt and not have the bottom half stick out like that. That's my inspiration. Doing research on myself in front of you. People love to say on the internet, you should do your research. This is my research, and you, again, are watching before your eyes, hopefully, the transformation of such things. So here's something I love to do. I love to get relevant comments from viewers that inspire a new video, and that's the case with this video you're watching. I made a video called Keto Bro, Fit by Age 40, Calories in my 6:30 p.m. Greek yogurt, which is actually the majority of my carbohydrates for the day. So several comments received, but the one I really want to look at, and this one is from ZHD, who says, quote, what are your thoughts of people saying someone is fit just because of their genetics? In other words, having good genes, and therefore that's the reason that they're fit. Because fit is an interesting word. There's healthy, and then there's fit. Am I healthy? Yeah, I'm healthy. Am I fit? Just about. Ultimately, 17% body fat, I think most people would accept as that's when you enter the fitness mode, not just simply being healthy. So can you be fit just by having good genes is basically the question that we're looking at. So I said, I think there's some truth in that, but that is definitely not the case for me personally, to which he replied, I think a sheer amount of people can be pretty fit, just pretty much cut out bad foods entirely will work for a lot of people. To which I said, I agree. Some people never consistently live in a caloric surplus, causing them to gain fat in the first place. So there we go. Let's check this out a little bit further, because I happen to know people in this situation. I happen to know one extremely well, and that's the woman I've been married to for nearly 13 years. Yes, I am married, as you can see, and you can even look up on this channel, type in the word wife, and you'll see my wife has been in multiple videos over the years. So my wife is one of these people. The entire time I've known her, she's never been overweight. She's always been thin. And if you looked at her mother, who's actually in her 70s, you would never believe that woman is in her 70s because of how thin she is. So you'd think naturally, well, it's genetics. It makes sense that my wife is thin because her mother's thin. It's genetics. Is it though? Well, I've talked to my wife about this, and she told me this. She said her grandmother, her Croatian grandmother, basically taught her mother, who then taught her, you got to stay moving, you got to stay moving, you got to stay active, you got to make sure that you're not eating too much food, all these things. So I think culturally that was passed down, but ultimately because of that, it kept them, grandmother, mother, daughter, from really ever ending up in a caloric surplus. They didn't eat more calories than they needed, which therefore caused fat to be stored from day to day on a reoccurring situation. So there's that example. There's also my brother-in-law, who also has been in some videos. You could type probably in brother-in-law and see him. So he's a couple years younger than me, but he's never been overweight. He's actually just completely lean. He's already reached my goals of the 17% body fat or less. He's reached it, but he's always been that way. He's never had extra fat in his body. What's interesting about him, a couple months ago, I did a little experiment with him when I was exploring the concept of caloric deficits. So I had him do like I do with my notebook journal, where I would journal in all my calories for the day. I said, I want you for the next couple of days to journal. Just tell me what you're eating, and I'll look up the calories for it. Well, he did this for 2 or 3 days. What we found out is, despite him not being keto or vegetarian or vegan or even counting his own calories, the way he eats less than 2,000 calories a day, every day without trying. And what's interesting is, he'll eat at restaurants. Specifically, he'll eat at what I would deem fast food restaurants. But he's doing it in a way that his calories are less than 2,000. Just the way he's been, he's never eaten in a surplus. And if he did on one particular day, the rest of his days are not. He's always under 2,000. I'm not in that same situation. I've been in situations that even as a vegan, I would eat over my 2,000 consistently, and it would cause fat to be stored. So I think it's really interesting. Do people have different metabolisms that cause them to have fat burning quicker than others? Absolutely, yes. And that's part of my keto journey, is to speed that up. That's why I do my intermittent fasting. That's why I do my apple cider vinegar. I do so many things that are meant to speed that up. That's why I'm weight training, to build more muscle, because when you have build more muscle, it causes your body to burn more energy and, in theory, speed up. So there's all these things. But ultimately, do people just have good genes and that's why they're thin? I don't believe that. What I believe is, yes, people have different metabolisms. But ultimately, how many calories you consume on a regular basis does have an effect on it. And I know by now you're thinking, but Nick, that a couple weeks ago you were talking about how you don't count calories. Here's what I'm gonna say. Do calories matter? Yes. But there's so many things you can do to alter that. For example, intermittent fasting, which compresses your calories in a day. And by doing so, you are therefore causing your body to burn off its own body fat instead of carbohydrates. So that in itself, I could still end up eating 1,800 calories at the end of the day. Here's what's funny. Today, it's exactly 3 o'clock and I haven't eaten any food. I've had my keto coffee, which had butter in it, but that's pretty much it. And I'm not necessarily starving. Like finally my stomach's starting to grow, but I'm not starving. So I could end up still having 1,800 calories, but I'm not gonna spike my insulin very much because the most I'm gonna have is 50 carbohydrates. Compare that to a guy who started out by drinking a protein smoothie that had some fruit in it at 7 a.m. He was already in fat storing mode at 7 a.m., whereas I've yet to store fat. So calories are important as far as overall, are you gonna gain fat or lose fat? But that's not the end all when you're keto. Keto mixes things up a little bit and puts the odds in your favor a bit more. But going back to the original question, is it just good genes? In theory, I say more than anything, it's a matter of a person eating more calories than they need in a day on a consistent basis. I know people personally who just happen to stay under that amount. I'm someone who always had a big appetite, and I think that's why keto helps me, because I can eat fat and protein, and as long as I do it at the right time, the right way, I can eat a lot of food, but not have to be hungry the majority of the day. That's my take on it. What do you believe? Your comments belong right here.